What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is the Red River. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, you probably can see from the outside view that it's rather cold and it is time for ice fishing. Now, for the first ice fishing session, thought of making my way down here to Lockport. This is an area that we know does have quite a lot of fish, and I'm hoping to get on some sauger or walleye today. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that when it comes to ice fishing, I am still a novice. This is only my 5th time out on the ice, but it is important to learn and grow your skill sets. Now, today is a chilling minus 23 degrees Celsius, and that is why I opted to put up my little ice shelter so we can protect ourselves a bit from the elements out there. Now, here in Manitoba, during ice fishing season, you're allowed 2 rods per angler, and that is simply why today I'm going to have 1 rod baited with some baits, hoping to get some fish on that, and on the other I'm just going to be jigging around all sorts of lures to see whether we get on some fish. Now, the ice is only 11 inches out there today, not as thick as I want it to be, but it is thick enough that you can use a snowmobile on it, so it should be okay with all of the heavy gear out here on the ice. But with all of that said, I think it's about time we get to the fishing. Alright, so my first setup, I'm just going to put a tiny little minnow, have that on a little Carolina rig, and the idea is just going to drop that down the hole. And that's quite simply our first little rod baited down in the hole. We'll see if we get any hits on that. We know to set the hook. For my second rod, however, I'm just going to use some small jigs. I have an assortment of different jigs. I am also testing out different lures, trying to see how they work. So I'm going to be swapping out to all sorts of different little lures, trying to see if we get any fish. If we have any action, I'll bring you guys to it. Alright, ladies and gents, just a little bit of an update. After a couple of hours sitting around on the ice in the little shelter, nice and warm in that little shelter, but sadly no bites. We did manage to get a bunch of mussels, and to be honest, this is rather far away from the actual Lockport itself. It's a ways down, and I'm thinking that maybe the fish aren't that far down and maybe schooled up near the lock. But because it is early season and the ice is not always that thick, especially wherever you have rushing water, I'm not going to take everything along down there with me. So I think I'm rather just going to grab a few light stuff, go onto the ice, see if we can get on any fish for this video. So fingers crossed, let's get down to the water. lost. Alright guys, spent 3 hours in the first spot, didn't get any bites, and in 2 hours in the second spot we finally got on some fish. Now these were just some sauger. Other people around me were using jig heads and minnows, and they got on some fish. I just used some lures and got on some fish. The minnows that were soaking in the water, every once in a while you get a little tug on that, but they just steal the baits. So fun experience in the end, getting on some fish, and we at least did get to try out our little pop-up shelter. If you've ever wondered whether a little shelter like that is worth it, it is completely worth it. Keeps you a lot warmer. But when all is said and done, I have to be honest and say that this was a rather difficult video to make. I've had quite a lot of people asking for ice fishing videos, and this is just the start of the ice fishing season, so we'll have some ice fishing videos. But you need to understand that it is very difficult for me not knowing that much about ice. When I got out here this morning, I didn't want to go near the lock because there was no one out on the ice and I thought it wasn't safe. Not knowing the ice and knowing the conditions, it's going to take me some time to get used to everything. And if you grew up doing something like this, it's easy to not understand what I'm talking about. But as someone that's new to ice fishing, it is rather nerve-wracking going out there on the ice, hearing all of the ice cracking and snapping underneath you, never knowing whether you're going to break through or not. And of course, figuring out where the fish are and finding the fish. All of these things are things that I'm slowly learning, and I'm going to bring you guys along on the videos to learn with me. And I hope that for that reason at least, you'll give me a little thumbs up. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. If you have any hints or tips, feel free to put them down in the comments as well. Alright guys, but the first ice fishing video, that's out of the way. Now we can calm the nerves and do some proper fishing going forward. So if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Alright, but I want to thank you for following along on this video. Like always, I'll see you next time.